Hello everyone, and welcome back to Newton Community Farm. I am Jay Villar, and talking to you all about sweet potatoes today. So sweet potatoes are a tuber in the morning glory family, and they are different from yams. So yams are more tuberous and thick in their outside shell. They pretty much come from the Caribbean and Africa. And the big confusion of why many people think of sweet potatoes as well as yams is because with the introduction to the US sweet potato of the orange, orange color, it was marketed to be a new variety of a vegetable, so they called it yams, which was just incorrect. So all of the varying levels of sweet potato, whether they be white, orange, purple, there's actually 1,600 varieties of sweet potatoes. They're all classified under the morning glory family and just known as sweet potatoes, which are very different than the white potato here, which is actually a nightshade. So obviously they look pretty much alike, but two different species, two different plant varieties, and two different nutrient varieties to it. So if you're looking for more health when it comes to potatoes, you want to choose the sweet potato. So the sweet potato has more bang for your buck when it comes to nutrition and nutrient value. So for example, a sweet potato has more fiber than a regular potato. It has more contents of vitamin A, C, and E, and has more antioxidants than your regular white potato. But when it comes to the antioxidants in sweet potatoes, it's going to be the purple potato that we don't have here, that has more of the antioxidants out there because of the deep, richer color. In nature, the deeper and richer the color, the more nutrients and antioxidants than that vegetable will have for you. So this is pretty interesting. And also, what's also a fun fact about sweet potatoes is that with growing it, it's the most prolific per acre crop out there when planted next to each other. So for example, a yield of sweet potato in an acre will yield more than a yield of corn on the same acre, which is a pretty interesting fact. So you take this one little vine and you put it in, you plant it in, and then it sort of covered it, let nature does its work, and then when you dig it up, you have this sort of like mountainous amount of sweet potatoes that's growing in your soil, which is great. And then you dig it up, and these little roots are attached, and when you harvest it, you simply just sort of take it away. I've sort of cleaned and washed these a little bit, and this is kind of like what you're looking for when you are trying to identify a good sweet potato at your farmer's market or at your supermarket. It's nice and smooth skin, not a lot of dents, and it's a good medium size. So the smaller the sweet potato, the more dense the flavor is going to be, versus trying to get one of those big guys in the store, and you won't get as much flavor. So looking for like the medium to the small ones will definitely give you more of that flavor. So today we are going to be making some of my favorite, and maybe your kids' favorites, sweet potato fries in the oven. It's a really great, easy and healthy recipe that you could do. I'll be kind of talking to you about some of the varying tips and tricks that you could use while you are making your sweet potato fries, and how not to burn them like I have done in the past. So you simply take your sweet potato and you'll wash it. So I wash this sweet potato here, and then you simply want to cut the both ends off to kind of grab it to be sort of the similar size. And then there's two trains of thought. One is to have it already peeled, which means you're simply just taking your vegetable peeler and you're peeling it away, or you simply leave the peel on. So when you leave the peel on, you're actually keeping in many of the nutrients that are part of the sweet potato in the peel itself. The sort of pros and cons of it is that when you have your sweet potato and you peel it, it just doesn't create that kind of sort of thick fiber that you're going to get at the end taste. So it's really up to you whether you want to peel it or not. I'm going to give you two examples of what it's going to look like when you peel it or when you leave the skin on. So what you're going to be doing is trying to find equal lengths of your sweet potato. So here we have about sort of like an inch thick and on the thicker side of things. What you'll notice is that when you are going to be baking these sweet potatoes, it will turn brown and burn fairly quickly if you're not watching it closely enough. Now there is a trick to help with the browning, which is adding cornstarch to the recipe, but we're not going to do that. We're simply going to use the old timing trick of watching our sweet potatoes to make sure that they are going to be properly cooked evenly through without any of the browning. And we'll talk about how to do that. So right now I have the oven set at 400 degrees. So you want a hot oven, and you want an oil that is not going to be having a high smoke point. So you want to use something like coconut oil or avocado oil in your sweet potato oil, so it can handle that high heat. The recipe that we're going to be using calls for a little bit of sweetness, so we're going to put a little tablespoon of honey. It calls for some salt and some ground cinnamon. It adds that kind of like depth of varying flavors. And you're simply just going to get your tray, your parchment paper, and here's the trick. You really want to lay them out so they're evenly kind of spaced and have enough room for that heat to kind of go through each one of this varying layers. Here, just kind of make it all even. Now, if you're following along with the recipe that is on our website at newcommunityfarm.org, you'll see that it's going to call for every 15 minutes you want to check and turn the sweet potato for 30 to 40 minutes. Now, that is a guide depending on how hot your oven is and how crispy you want your fries. But what you will notice is that if you leave it in long, it will typically brown very, very quickly. So you want to set yourself a little timer and just check it at 15 minutes. And then when you check it at 15 minutes, you want to turn it, and then you want to check it again in another 5 minutes. The sort of trick there is after like 15 minutes, your fries are pretty much already going to be cooked. It's now going to depend on how hot your oven is and how quickly that light brown is going to turn into a dark brown, which is going to turn into black. So you really want to find that sort of sweet spot within your oven and within this recipe. So trick is 400 degrees, check it at 15 minutes. At 15 minutes, you want to turn it, check it at 5 minutes, and then from really there, you want to just kind of eye it. So after 15 minutes, we'll check on our sweet potatoes, and I'll tell you, and we'll see how it's going in our oven. Okay, so it's been about 15 or so minutes, and now we're going to check on our sweet potatoes in the oven to see how they look, and they're looking exactly how I would want them. So this is the perfect time that you would want to just flip them over here. So that brown on top compared to that brown on the bottom is exactly what I'm looking for. So technically these are done, but they're not going to be as crispy as I personally would want them. So many recipes will tell you to put them in for another 15 minutes, let it go. But if you do that, you are going to get more of the darker browning that you may not probably want for your fries. So my recommendation is to check in on them in the next 5 or so minutes, and then depending on the level of sort of color that you're looking for, they should be ready. So I'm going to check on them in about 5 minutes, and that's pretty much when I think they're going to be done. All right, so now it's been about 5 minutes after we turned them. So now we're going to check on our little sweet potatoes to see how we're doing, and in my opinion, they look perfect. So a little bit of like browning, we have the sort of, you know, coloring on the side. They're not going to be overly done, and we're going to let these things cool down, and then we're just going to enjoy a little afternoon snack here at the farm. So thanks everyone for watching our YouTube shows. We've been so wonderful that we have you as our little audience, and we get to do this for our community. So until next time, we'll see you on the other side. Bye.